Most people spend their whole lives believing they'll only be happy once they've saved a huge amount of money. But what if I told you that's a lie? That even if you reach that magic number, it might never give you the peace you're hoping for? Sounds strange, right? Yet that's the truth very few people dare to say out loud. While some people work themselves to the bone trying to earn more and more, others, with way less, already live without worrying about bills. It feels unfair, but it's not. The real difference is understanding what enough money truly means. And here's the shocking part. There's no magic number. What actually exists is a strategy, a calculation, and a mindset shift that can turn any income into freedom. And the funny thing is, you won't learn this in school. That's why most people keep running in circles, trapped in the same exhausting cycle. But today, you're going to break that pattern. Because once you get this concept, you'll never look at money with fear again. You'll start seeing it as your most powerful ally. The myth of the perfect amount. So many people spend their whole lives chasing after this idea of a magic number, the exact amount of money that would solve all their problems. They say things like, if I could just hit that number, I'd never worry about money again. But let's be honest, does that number even exist? The truth is, it's kind of like a dog chasing its own tail. You run in circles, but never really get there. What's even more interesting is that even when someone does reach that long-awaited amount, the sense of security doesn't last. A new desire always shows up, or an unexpected expense, or that fear of losing it all. It's like that friend who swears they'll finally feel complete after buying their dream car, until they realize they now need a bigger house to park it in. That cycle of always wanting more never ends. The real secret isn't about finding the perfect number at all. It's about figuring out what's enough for your lifestyle, your choices, your peace of mind. For some people, it's living simply and happily with less. For others, it's managing a bigger setup with more responsibilities. The problem isn't the money itself, it's how you look at it. And that's exactly where the idea of financial freedom comes into play. The power of financial freedom. At the end of the day, people aren't really chasing money itself. They're chasing what it represents. Freedom. Freedom to say no to a toxic boss. Freedom to travel without asking for vacation days. Freedom to spend more time with the people who matter most. That sense of choice is what separates someone who controls their money from someone who's controlled by it. Think about it. A person might earn a huge paycheck, but spend it all trying to keep up appearances. On the surface, they look wealthy, but behind the scenes they're trapped, living paycheck to paycheck. Meanwhile, someone else earning far less but managing their money wisely, investing consistently, and living within their means can feel more peace than the so-called millionaire. It's like choosing between owning a mansion full of debt or a modest home where you actually sleep soundly. And the best part? You don't have to wait decades to feel this kind of freedom. Small steps, like building an emergency fund, investing in income-producing assets, or simply saying no to unnecessary spending, already shift the balance. And once you start experiencing that freedom of choice, it opens your eyes to another hidden truth: the invisible costs of life that silently drain your wealth. The invisible cost of life. When people sit down to figure out how much money they need, they usually just add up the basics. Rent, food, transportation, maybe some fun on the weekends. But real life doesn't work like that. There's always an invisible cost hiding in the shadows. The car that suddenly breaks down, that last-minute doctor's bill, or even the birthday party that ends up costing way more than planned. These little surprises quietly eat away at your budget like termites in a wooden house. The dangerous part is when people ignore these hidden costs and build their financial plan based only on a perfect scenario. That's like a captain planning a sea voyage and assuming there will only be sunny days and calm waters. The first storm that comes along, the ship sinks. And the same happens with money. If you don't prepare a safety margin, even a small wave can drown you in debt. And these invisible costs aren't just about money. They're emotional too. Stress, anxiety, sleepless nights, all of that comes from living right on the edge without a financial cushion. So when we talk about never worrying about money again, it's not just about hitting some big number. It's about protecting yourself from life's surprises. And that naturally leads to the big question: how much is actually enough? How much is truly enough? At some point, the question everyone asks pops up. Okay, but how much do I really need to never worry about money again? The truth is, there isn't one magic number that works for everyone. What actually helps is using a practical method, like the famous 4% rule. The idea is simple. If you've invested enough to safely withdraw 4% a year, you can live off the returns without draining your principal. For example, if someone wants $5,000 a month to live comfortably, they'd need around $1.5 million invested in stable, income-generating assets. At first glance, that number sounds overwhelming, but when you break it down into smaller, realistic milestones, it becomes far more achievable. It's like running a marathon. You don't start with 26 miles on day one. You start with a few laps and build up over time. The key is realizing that enough looks different for everyone. For one person, it could mean $2,000 a month and a simple lifestyle. For another, it could mean 10 times that. The number isn't the real secret. It's the mindset and how you build assets that sustain your lifestyle in the long run. And that brings us to the real shift. Why focusing on assets is way more powerful than chasing a higher salary. The secret lies in assets, not salary. A lot of people believe that the higher their paycheck, the safer they'll feel financially. But that's a trap. A big salary without assets is like a leaky bucket. No matter how much water you pour in, it keeps slipping out. Assets, on the other hand, like dividend-paying stocks, rental properties, index funds, or even an online business, are streams that keep flowing whether you're working or not. Here's a simple example. Someone earning $20,000 a month, but spending every penny on lifestyle upgrades is actually more vulnerable than someone making $5,000 a month, saving and building a portfolio that already brings in $1,000 in passive income. The second person, even with less income, is laying down bricks for a foundation that grows stronger over time. It's like planting a tree. In the beginning, it takes care and patience, but eventually it gives shade and fruit on its own. That's why the game changer isn't how many hours you work, but how many assets you put to work for you. Once that clicks, the way you see money completely shifts. Because it's not about running forever after salary increases, it's about building streams of income that never clock out. And that's where the real formula for abundance begins to take shape. The formula for abundance, true financial abundance, doesn't come from luck or some get-rich-quick scheme. It comes from 3 ingredients working together: discipline, knowledge, and time. Discipline keeps you consistent, even when the temptation to spend is right in front of you. Knowledge guides you toward the right assets and helps you avoid scams that promise fast returns. And time, that's the magic multiplier, the one that turns small steps into massive results. Take someone who invests just $500 a month in solid, reliable assets. At first it feels tiny, almost pointless, but give it 15 or 20 years, and that same person could have a portfolio that dwarfs what a big spender with a huge salary ever managed to save. It's the power of compounding, like planting a small garden and with patience, watching it grow into a forest that takes care of itself. And here's the twist. These 3 ingredients don't just change your finances, they spill into the rest of your life. The same discipline that keeps you investing also helps with health, learning, and even relationships. Everything connects. And once you realize that, you'll see there's a moment when money stops being the center of your worries. And that's when the true turning point happens. The turning point. There's a magical moment in everyone's financial journey when everything shifts. It's the point where money stops being a constant weight on your shoulders and starts being just a tool to build your dreams. And here's the thing. That moment doesn't arrive when your bank account is overflowing. It happens when your assets generate enough to cover your lifestyle, so you're no longer chained to the next paycheck. It's like crossing a bridge and realizing there's no going back. People who reach this stage discover a kind of peace that no luxury car or mansion can buy. Imagine waking up on a Monday morning without that knot in your stomach, because your bills are already covered whether you work or not. That's real wealth. It's like replacing the blaring alarm clock of survival with the gentle soundtrack of freedom. And once you've felt that, you'll never want to go back. But here's the inspiring part. This turning point isn't reserved for the lucky few. Anyone willing to learn the game, apply the principles, and give it time can get there. And once you do, money is no longer the main character in your story. It becomes the supporting role. The spotlight shifts back to you, so you can finally live out your biggest dreams. Now that you've seen what it really takes to never worry about money again, the big question is, what are you going to do with this knowledge? Will you let it sit as just another nice idea, or will you actually apply it and change your life? The difference between people who achieve financial freedom and those who don't is simple: action. So ask yourself, what assets could I start building today? How much of my income is truly working for me instead of being spent the moment it comes in? These are small but powerful questions that open the door to a completely different future. Because if you don't plant today, how can you expect to harvest peace of mind tomorrow? And if this video made sense to you, don't keep it to yourself. Hit that subscribe button, turn on the notifications, and stick around. Every episode here is another step toward making money a tool, not a worry, and using it to fuel the life you've always wanted.